Okay. Good morning, everyone. We might get started and allow people to join us in the room as they slowly grab their coffee and sign themselves in. So thank you very much for joining us. My name's Anna Yerondes and I'm the CEO for the Myotherapy Association Australia. I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather today, and I pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. And I extend that respect to Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people who may be joining us today. So thank you. Another Myotherapy ConneX webinar series, which is exciting. We really enjoy having you participate with us and sharing with you information that either you've encouraged us to bring to you that's relevant and anything that we also hope supports you in your needs and interests as myotherapist and part of our association. So today we're going to chat to you a little bit about the benefits of being a part of the Peak Industry Association for Myotherapists. And I'm joined by Madeline Ryan. Madeline is our new Association Manager and Member Engagement Officer. And I'm going to hand it over shortly to Madeline and she can tell you a little bit more about herself. But essentially what we'd like to do today is share with you what it is and what it means to be a part of our association. What are some of the benefits that you can expect, and also encourage you to interact with us to ensure that we're delivering what it is that you want. You're paying good money, your hard-earned money, and we want to make sure that you're getting what it is that you expect and what you need of your industry association dollars, basically. So I'm going to pass over to you, Madeline, and thanks for joining us and welcome on board with the Myotherapy Association.
Thank you. Thanks to Anna, and hi to everyone that's joined us. As Anna mentioned, I've recently joined the association as the Membership Engagement and Association Manager. So really, what does that look like? I'm here to talk to you and I'm here to hear from you, and to keep you informed and to keep you motivated, and really just to keep that relationship with the association open and strong. So yeah, I'm really excited about my role here. A little bit of my background, I've worked for a number of member associations and organisations, including the Rural Doctors Association of New South Wales, and the Public Relations Institute of Australia. And yeah, so myotherapy is a very new field for me. So if you're talking to me, expect me to ask a lot of questions. I'm enjoying to learn more about this industry, but in terms of communication and how as an association we're meeting your expectations, that's where my skills probably come into play. So yeah, so I'm really looking forward to getting to know members a lot more and how we can best serve them.
Sorry, I'm going to find my mute button there and unmute myself. So thanks, Madeline. So I think we'd like to share first and foremost a little bit about, what it means to join the Myotherapy Association, who can join, perhaps some of the reasons why you might be joining, and also what's involved with being a part of the association. What do you get? What can we provide you? And more importantly, we want to hear about perhaps the things that you feel you're not receiving that you'd like to receive from us. So we can certainly do our very best to ensure that we're supporting you through all stages of your association journey. So whether that's as a student while you're studying, whether it be when you've graduated and you're out there working, or as a practitioner and building your practices, providing you the knowledge and the resources around business, around your clinical practice, best practice, governance, your professional development programs, what's available to you, And Madeline's also going to walk you through a little bit of the dashboard, because we understand for many of you that have been with us for some time, that member dashboard is still relatively new. And what we want to do is ensure that you're utilising it to its best capacity and you're having the best experience with us. You're accessing the resources that we have available, and that also we can provide you any additional resources that you feel you might need as well. So, Madeline, we might just chat a little bit first about just some of the benefits of when you join the association. So what is it that members can expect to receive from us?
For sure. Well, I think first and foremost, the Myotherapy Association, you know, we're the #1 association for myotherapy. We're the only association that is exclusively, wholly and solely dedicated to myotherapy. So I think that's really important for members and those who are not yet members to consider when joining this association, is that we're here wholly and solely for you and for this industry. So the advocacy is paramount, and you know, you're not going to get lost in other services. So we're here wholly and solely for you. So I think that's really important. In terms of the, you know, once you join, the benefits, naturally there are those assigned benefits such as insurance and the health fund provider recognition, and you know, that's to be expected when you are paying a membership fee, that you're getting that immediate services. So that's sort of primary as part of your membership. More though than that, we want to make sure that the benefits extend to you as a practitioner and as a business owner. So the support that we provide, the services that we provide as an association are all there to benefit you. So, you know, development and education is not just clinical. We'll be there to help you run your business, to find employment, to connect with other myotherapists, and to grow the community. So I think if that's a good snapshot of, you know, what you get when you join us, I think that sort of nicely you know, paints a picture for you.
And Madeline, I'll just build on what you said, and it's really important when we talk about being an association that's exclusive for myotherapists. And we absolutely know that, you know, there's multiple options available to practitioners from, you know, the time that they're studying to the time that they graduate with regards to associations that they may choose. And it is really important that we impress upon you the importance of being part of an association that is exclusively representing not just you, but also your profession. And what we mean by that is when we're having conversations with various stakeholder groups, whether we're having conversations for the purpose of what we experienced through COVID and speaking to different government bodies, speaking to states and territories about, you know, how we can or how we can't work, why is that the case? Really advocating for the fact that myotherapists are healthcare providers. We fit within the space as per our colleagues across healthcare, allied health, for the purpose of providing evidence-informed, qualified care to the community. So we have the conversation about myotherapy. We're not trying to have a conversation about a number of other disciplines. Myotherapy is what we know. Our board of directors are made up predominantly of clinicians themselves. We have some appointed members on there that come with various skill sets around governance, finance, and also law. But we're having those conversations for the purpose of ensuring that it's an education piece about myotherapy and the benefits of myotherapy, and why it's absolutely paramount that we're pushing for that equity across access to myotherapists as healthcare providers. The other really important thing, I think, when you're thinking about, you know, your association and the choice that you make, thinking about things such as the education piece, professional development programs. When our professional development committee consider the types of CPD that we make available for members to access, we think about what's within the scope of practice for myotherapists and what is it that they can continue to build upon with their clinical skills and knowledge. So we're not necessarily looking at programs that we feel and we hear. And when I say we hear it, it's through the surveys that we've had with you. It's the conversation that we see across social media forums. But what is it about professional development that's going to help, you know, build upon your skills and knowledge so you can take that into your clinical practice and continue to provide the best care for your patients with the best and the safest outcomes as well. So they're really important pieces. Madeline touched on the insurance policy, which is part of your membership benefit. When you pay your fee, you know that you have an insurance policy that is over and above being adequate to support you in the instance that, you know, anything might arise, whether it be a claim, an injury, or anything like that. So we meet with our insurers multiple times throughout the year to ensure that we've always got the best policy, that we're covering for the right modalities that are within scope, but also those that we know our myotherapists are bringing, I suppose, into their tool belt to ensure that they can continue to practice at the highest level of care as well. Industry partners is another really important thing. When we're looking to partner with industry, we're looking to partner with people that we know add value to you and your business. So again, we're not just sort of going out there with a broad sweep of anyone that wants to be a partner. We're really considering carefully those that add value to you as a myotherapist and to you as a business owner operator. Regardless of what the size of your business is, we want to ensure that it adds value for you. And as I said, we're always thinking about that from the perspective of a myotherapist and a myotherapy practice and what we know and understand happens within a myotherapy practice. So it's really important to think about that, because whilst there are multiple associations available for the purpose of joining them, think about what's happening within those associations from the perspective of, are they solely representing myotherapy as a profession, or are they required to consider representation across a broad scope of membership levels and also qualifications of the members that they have within their association? So just thinking about that and thinking about the conversations that you're having with your colleagues as well. A number of you have practitioners that work with you or work for you within your business, and asking them those same questions. Are you getting the best from your association for the purpose of ensuring that they're representing you and your business appropriately?
Thanks, Anna.
That's right.
I think also touching on the insurance as well is you know, to advise that that's both public liability and professional indemnity insurance. So, you know, you're well covered, and that should be very reassuring for members. One of the benefits also with your membership is the access to legal advice. So when you are employing staff, you know, when you're starting your own business, you know, there are those legalities that you're going to need to consider, and we provide access for you for free legal advice. You will find all that information on the website, which I'll show you shortly, but that's also just noteworthy.
And I'll just provide an example of that as well, Madeline. Just recently, we've actually taken a number of calls from our members, and their queries, you know, whilst they've differed slightly, they've been queries that are appropriate for us to be able to direct them towards Gadens, who are our partners that are offering this legal advice. So it's the free 30-minute employment advice. When we talk about legal, it's important that we stress that it's about employment law. And For example, one of the queries that we had was from a member who was starting with a practice, and they were given a contract for the purpose of coming on board as a contractor. However, there were areas within the contract that they were a little bit unclear about. They were unsure, whether or not it was stipulating, the arrangement as a contractor appropriately. It's not for us within the association to try and interpret these contracts because they are legal documents. That's why it was really important that we were able to partner with a firm who understands the language of contracts, who understands the space around regulation, and who's also they're able to guide you appropriately. That was one example, and another example was on the flip side, and that was a person who had a clinic, and they were wanting to onboard additional staff. And they were questioning whether or not, is it a contract that they bring them in on? Is it employment that they bring them in on? What are the differences with them? What are the awards associated with bringing myotherapists into their practice? How do they know what sort of pay point they're supposed to bring them in on? So all of those things, they were able to be guided by Gaydens very successfully with regards to ensuring that they were sort of, dotting their I's and crossing their T's. Because the last thing you want to experience as a business is to sort of undertake that kind of arrangement and go into an agreement that may not be right. And, potentially years down the track, you don't want that to then kind of backflip and end up costing you money, not because you were doing anything malicious, but because you were just unclear about what those arrangements should look like. So there's been some changes through the legislation with regards to how contractors are defined, and that change went through the federal courts. I think it was February this year. It's on the Fair Work site. Madeline's going to show you some of the areas that we have in our members only section that provide you the resources and the links to be able to have a look on those websites, with regards to employment and contracts and the definitions of them and things like that. But it's a really valuable service for you to use as a member. Again, just so you have the assurance and the clarity that, yes, I'm either engaging in the right kind of contract or arrangement, or I'm providing the right kind of employment structures to the staff that I have within my clinic. It doesn't have to be a scary space, and it's really important that you get the right advice so that you feel a sense of comfort that, I think, I've got this, I've been guided appropriately. So, as I said, Madeline's going to show you. We really encourage you guys to use that. And she'll also show you a little bit about what's available with our partners at HR Advice Online as well.
And I think before we do that, I just also wanted to make mention to any student members. I know we might briefly just talk about for the students, how we support them as an association, and how we can encourage them on their pathways to myotherapy, job opportunities, and again just that exposure to the industry. So we will touch on that, but I just wanted to acknowledge if there are students joining us or that will join and watch this webinar later, that we will be talking to you as well. Okay, so we've talked about why you would join Myotherapy Association of Australia, that we are the only association dedicated solely to myotherapy and myotherapists. I think one of the things that I want to touch on is membership with an association. It sends a message, and it adds to the reputation of your industry. So when you are saying, I'm a member of Myotherapy Association Australia, that's sending a message to your clients and to your colleagues and to the rest of the industry that you take yourself seriously, that you take your profession seriously. So I just wanted to really just touch on the effect that membership has without the wider community. And again, your membership is really, it's only going to give you all those benefits and all those all that assistance if you engage with it. So we're here on the phones, on the email, through the website. You can get in contact with us anytime. And, you know, we really encourage you to do that. That's part of the engagement. It's part of the experience, is that you don't just sign up and, you know, off you go, never talk to us, never hear from us. You know, this is a relationship as well. So I just wanted to impress that upon you, that when you do join, that you are saying something with that membership. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to have a look at the member dashboard so we can go through some of these benefits with you. Bear with me. So for the purposes of this webinar, I'm signed in. Okay, can I hide this? So here is your member dashboard. When you log in as a member, you can see all the information that pertains to you. And we'll start here under my personal details, fairly clearly, name, date of birth. Here in your view my practice details, this is where your employment comes in, and it will show you where you are employed and your provider numbers for the clinics that you are working in. If you need to change any of those details, you can simply go into edit and add as you see fit. Further down here, you can manage your email preferences, you know, to receive newsletters and other relevant information that you want to hear from us. Here you can add languages spoken, and this is really key as part of our Find a Myotherapist offering. So if you do speak a second or third or a fourth language, we encourage you to note it in here. Anna speaks Greek as well, so we can save that, and that will help when we have those inquiries that come in, people saying, look, I'm looking for a myotherapist. You know, it's just an added benefit that will help patients find the myotherapist that they're going to be best suited to. Also with that, your area of interest. So Anna specialises in cupping, dry needling, migraines, pain management. If you're a myotherapist that is works specifically with pregnancy or sports, again, we just encourage you to list all those areas of interest, areas of speciality, and that will help patients find you. At the bottom of your dashboard, here we have navigation, and look, just really a bit of housekeeping. If you need to change your password, if you want to upload an image on your profile so that when people are searching for you, they get a visual as well, you can do that here. Here in your account, Anna's got no outstanding payments, which is great, but you can look up any accounts that you may have with us, including your membership or events. Tickets, any tickets that you've purchased for our professional developments will show up in here. And you can add yourself to mailing lists, and so that's a good navigation tool for you to make your dashboard suit you and your needs. Under the My Membership panel, here we're going to have details obviously about your membership. If you need to download your certificate, here is your certificate of currency with your insurers. So that all that information is available to you. And here, really importantly, we ask you to update, when you're updating your details, to make sure you're working with Children Check is up to date, your first aid, and you can upload any of those certificates and files here. The My Emails section is anytime that we have emailed you for one of our mailing lists or newsletters, you'll find it under emails. So there's no excuses to say that we haven't got in touch with you. But it's really handy if you need to go back. Oh, I know there was an email about that PDP program that was coming up. You'll find that here under my emails. So before I jump into the PDP, I just want to look up here at under the membership menu bar at the top. And I want to take you to the members only section, because again, as a benefit of a member, this is where you find all that extra support and information that's there for you. Marking materials for you to share. These are great little tiles that we have developed that you can share on your own social media. So you can download those images and, you know, again, as part of that advocacy, you're doing your part for the industry as well. So there's some great marketing materials that you can have in your practice, on your social media. You can send it out to patients if you have your own newsletters. So there's some really helpful hashtags here as well that you can use in your social media platforms. Again, just to help spread that word. There's another one, great one as well. Reclaim your health. So those marketing materials are there provided for you. If there's anything there that you think that we can add to, let us know and we can certainly make that happen. There's other handy resources here, particularly around COVID-19. Access to our webinars, your health fund provider information. So this is just a great handy document to have when you are experiencing any issues with the health funds or when you're wanting to add a new practice. There's some helpful information here that just helps to explain the process of receiving those provider numbers and using them. And what's we got down here? So here you'll find the Myotherapy Association logos. Again, use these in your practice, email signatures, website, social media. You know, as I mentioned before, when you are a member, you're sending a message. And I think there's great little stickers to say, we are proud members of the Peak Association. So just always remember that your membership is saying something to someone else as well. Now, Anna's on board. You can ask any questions here on the webinar, but if you think of any questions later on, here's a great resource. If you have any specific questions about the industry, about any issues that you're coming across, you can email Anna, and in time we can develop a response to you. So that's really handy, again, to know that as the association, we're here, Anna's on the phone, on the email, and available to you. Here's all the information about your member insurance. And you can download the policy wording and the features and benefits of your insurance policy. So it's all there for you, packaged up nicely. If you're a new member, jump in here. And I just want to quickly look at the business tools and resources. As we mentioned before, the membership with the association, and the association is here not just for your clinical development, but as your business partners as well. So here you can access those details to speak to Gaydon's lawyers that Anna mentioned earlier, a great employment contract tool, information about awards, pay guides, and all that essential links and information that's going to help you as you're either setting up or running your business. So that members only section is really helpful, and again, we encourage you to jump in there and download and keep handy all those details that are going to benefit you. Anna, did you want to add anything to that before we move on?
No, what I will say, and I think you touched on it, Madeline, was these are resources and information that we've added to a members only area based on what you've told us, whether it be via the surveys or what we've heard from you when we've had conversations. But it doesn't mean that this has to be the only resources that we give you. And as Madeline's indicated a number of times, the only way you're going to get the most out of your membership is by engaging with your membership. So please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us, whether it's a phone call, an email, ask the CEO form, reach out and say, hey, I'd love to have access to XYZ, or is there an opportunity with those social tiles to develop something more specific around whatever it might be. These are not things that are necessarily difficult for us to do for you, but it's not something that we're necessarily going to know you need or want unless we hear it from you. So don't hesitate to reach out. You're entitled to ask for things of us, and certainly, within reason, we're going to do our very best to ensure that we're supporting you and those requests that come in.
And I think to add to that, from my part, members should expect to hear from me. So there'll be member surveys, there'll be polls, and I'll even just jump on the phone every now and then just to check in with members and make sure they are, getting the value for their membership that they anticipate and can expect. Okay, so we might move on to the professional development. So I'm going to jump back onto the member dashboard here. And this right-hand side menu is all about your professional development. As you know, as members, you're required to get 20 points per membership cycle. 4 of those points are formal and 16 are informal. So that is a requirement of your membership. And again, that's just part of that sending a message as well. Part of that commitment to your industry is to keep your skills updated and just always be on that path of improving and developing your practice, your skills, and your business skills as well. So here we can look at the PDP that's been completed previously, and we can look as to which membership cycle that falls into. So we can check that there have been, the points allocated for each cycle. When we are adding to that cycle, which you can do yourself, you don't have to send it all in to us. It's really easy. We go into add a PDP record. You're going to choose the cycle. Obviously, our current cycle is from the 1st of July 22 to the 30th of June 23. You're going to select whether it's a formal or an informal activity. And for the purposes today, we're doing a webinar. Pop in your details here. Now, really, really importantly, and I want to stress on this, when you're putting in the date of the activity that you have completed or that you have registered for, we've just really asked you to use those 4 digits for the year. If you simply put in 22, the system's not going to allocate that properly to the right cycle. And we can run into problems with that when you'll hear from us during membership renewal saying your PDPs aren't up to date, and you're thinking, yeah, they are. I've done all the courses, I have all the points. One of the number one reasons that it doesn't show up in the right cycle is simply that this date hasn't been entered correctly. So if I can please ask that you use those 4 digits for the year, and then we won't be hounding you when it comes to renewals for those points that you already have. So really simple to add in the details, who your provider is and your learning outcomes, and any reflections. Now the points that you're adding here, they generally run on 1 point per 1 hour. So for a half-hour webinar, you'll add half a point. So when we save that, you can see here that Anna's got her informal online webinar, half a point, today's date, and that point will then be added to her total. Now, when it comes to uploading the evidence, if it's not one of our events, or it's some of the training that you're doing or study that you're doing, this upload evidence tab will bring up the PDP that you have entered, the date and the details, and here under actions you can upload your evidence. So whether that's an enrolment or a certificate of completion, it may even be a cover of the chapter of a book that you've read. So again, that evidence is key for us to know that that you've actually attended, that you've completed, and that you've committed to that PDP. Now here you'll also find your PDP guidelines. Again, we're not going to read through all of that, but it is, again, just to inform you and make you aware how important that professional development is as part of your membership and as part of your career. And it will again outline those details. So if you're thinking, how many points do I add for this activity, all that information will be here in those guidelines. So that's a really handy tool to have there.
Madeline, I'll just add too, with the PDP guidelines, we have heard from members, and we do understand that those guidelines are probably a little bit more complex than they need to be. They're quite long, and we do note that and acknowledge that. So our PDP committee and our staff do have some time scheduled where we're going to be reviewing those guidelines from the perspective of just trying to simplify them, making it easier, where you are having a bit of a look at them and going, okay, well that's pretty clear to me that activity is X number of points, or that activity that I've undertaken, it doesn't seem like it would fit within the PDP guidelines. So always thinking about the PDP activity that you're doing. Is it relevant? Is it building upon your clinical skills and knowledge? And does it fit within what the guidelines would read as PDP activity that would be approved for the purpose of your ongoing professional development? So it doesn't mean you can't do things that, may not be relevant, for example, but just general interest of yours. That's fine. It just means that some of that activity would not be approved for the purpose of looking at PDP. So just having a bit of a think about that. And that's where it's quite useful as well when you're thinking about your PDP calendar, and we encourage you so much to plan ahead. don't leave PDPs until the month of May and June, because it becomes really difficult and taxing on you as a practitioner to try and get all of that in the last couple of months. Have a look at what's available. You can go onto our site, obviously under that professional development tab, where we offer PDP that is either hosted by MA, and you'll know the ones that are run by MA because on the tiles, they'll have a circle. So those ones across the top that have the rectangular endorsed program, you know that'll meet the guidelines because our committee have had a look at that and they've said, yes, that meets the guidelines. We're happy to endorse those programs. Then we'll have ones that have the circle icon, and most of those you'll see will pop up with the face-to-face PD or our podcasts, for example. So you can see the circle with the MA logo. They're the PDP that are being run by MA. So anything that's on our listing, it's not a question of whether or not it would meet the guidelines. It absolutely will, because we're either running it or our PD committee have had a look at the content and have been happy to approve and endorse it. So often, that's just a bit of a safeguard when you're trying to develop what your PD calendar might look like for the year. It also helps to develop your calendar in advance. And when I say develop it, think about what PDP you want to do. It helps you financially to get a sense of, what kind of financial commitment and investment am I in a position to make for this membership cycle. Have a look at what the cost is of some of these programs, whether they're ours, our endorsed partners, or potentially even with some of the other allied health associations, APA, osteopathy, and the likes. So really plan ahead so it's not a mad scramble for you at the end. And it also means you won't get as many of our hounding messages and emails saying, hey, you still don't have your PDP. Where are you at? How's it going?
Yeah, thanks, Anna. Again, if you're searching for particular topics or the types of events, we've got our workshops, videos on demand, podcasts, online reading material. It's all there categorized for you. And again, if there's something there, if there's something not there that you're really interested in, again, please get in touch or, provide us with details of a course that you're interested in or an event that you've seen, and we can certainly take a look at that for you. So that's professional development in a nutshell. Super easy to add your details and add your points. Again, if you have got a course that you want us to take a look at, there's the endorsement application here, and that's, correct me if I'm wrong, Anna, for providers as well as for events that members will come across?
Yeah, so certainly, if members are attending or if they've been participating in PDP programs that they're really loving, you might want to encourage the facilitator of that program to look at having that that endorsed by MA as well. An endorsement for learning resources, so for businesses who have them available, effectively what it means is when you're on our page, your reach is far beyond, just what you as a business might be doing when you're advertising, because we're promoting your product not just to our members, we promote it across our socials as well, where, depending on the platform, we'll have in excess of sort of 1,900 followers on some of the platforms that are there. So you're getting a much broader exposure there as well. Any endorsement applications, it's a $50 non-refundable application fee for PDP endorsement. And then basically what happens is all the content that's provided for the purpose of an endorsement application goes through to our PDP committee. They have a look at it, and again, they benchmark that across, well, what are our PDP guidelines, and our benchmarking tool to determine, does that actually meet that? Yes or no, and then we go back to the applicant about that. So it's really lovely to see actually that we're starting to get more and more professional development providers and facilitators starting to apply. So what that says to us is more and more people are starting to understand the value of reaching out to myotherapists as a community for the purpose of their professional development. They really see where myotherapy fits within that healthcare scope. So that's been great. We're getting a lot more applications come through for endorsed products.
Yeah, and I think as a nice little segue then into our students, if you are studying myotherapy, if you're currently a remedial member, but you're working towards your qualifications in myotherapy, though that training, that study can also apply to your professional development. So on that with the students, Anna, are you able to quickly talk about the pathways and how students, or how we support students on that journey to myotherapy?
Yeah, absolutely. I can see that there's a question in the Q&A as well, so we will come to your questions shortly. So thanks for that, and I encourage people to please pop their questions in there. So with the myotherapy program, with the advanced diploma program, that's underpinned by the diploma of remedial massage. So that's why we do have a membership level that supports diploma of remedial massage qualified members. There's an eligibility criteria for that. So when we're having conversations with students, we're speaking to the students within the diploma programs, we're speaking to the students within the advanced diploma, and those that are within the degree as well. So there's a few different groups that we're having the conversation about being a part of MA. For the purpose of the diploma students, what we essentially want to be able to do is encourage them to understand the benefits of upskilling to that myotherapy qualification. It's not just about, and unfortunately, I think a lot of people sort of look at it and go, oh, well, provider numbers or item codes for health funds any different? Are those patients getting any more money seeing me than what they are seeing a remedial massage therapist? For some health funds, absolutely. Some health funds do recognise the difference and they will rebate accordingly. For many of them, and I'll probably say for most of them, no, they sit in the same pool. Our conversation is not about whether or not patients get a better rebate. Our conversation is about whether or not the practitioner is equipped better to be able to provide care to patients with regards to, we're seeing so many more comorbidities, pain management, chronic pain. We're seeing more and more people present with conditions that we're aware that the diploma, while it equips students really well for the purpose of assessing and treating to a degree, we do hear that the presentation of patients around sort of your pain management, movement dysfunction and whatnot, it does require that extra amount of knowledge and skill and ability to assess. That's what myotherapy provides these students and ultimately these graduates. It opens you up to be able to service a broader patient load with regards to their presentations, and we know that. So we encourage these students to consider the pathways for the purpose of developing yourself as a practitioner, considering the work environments you then have an opportunity to be able to go into, whether it's in clinical practice, whether or not it's working with elite sporting groups. We've got a member who's heading off, or may have headed off to the Commonwealth Games and recently was at the Olympic Games in Japan, and we've got a podcast with Toby. We've had members who have worked across various elite sporting arenas, whether it's with the tennis, whether it's with the cricket. We also know that a lot of my therapists will go in and work in clinical practices where their skills and knowledge is recognised for the purpose of being able to treat these patients that are presenting with these different levels of pain or movement dysfunction, that the scope of myotherapy training equips them adequately to be able to assess, manage, and successfully treat with positive outcomes and safety. It has to be paramount as a practitioner. You must ensure as a practitioner that you can offer safe, effective care to these patients, and that's what myotherapy does. Then we've also got the degree programs that, again, it's another deep dive into another level of skills and knowledge, understanding the space of research that little bit more, equipping you with some additional tools, additional skills to go that extra level with regards to what it is that you can provide as a practitioner. And we do have information about those pathway programs on our website. And if I'm to be able to quickly share my screen, for anyone who might have interest in wanting to have a look at these pathway programs, I'm just going to move that little thing there. In Study Myotherapy on our website here, you can have a look and download the clinical pathways information for the purpose of the degree. There's also an information session that we held with the educators at Southern School of Natural Therapies, that you can watch that and also learn a little bit more about these pathways programs and the benefits of being able to continue through these pathways for the purpose of your study as a practitioner, and what opportunities does it open up for you. You know, in the degree, what opportunities are there as a graduate? Are there greater opportunities for the purpose of then going into research or looking at master's programs? And they're all conversations that we encourage you to have with the training providers that are there as well. So when we're speaking to students, it's not just about, well, you know, can I have a different item code? It's so much more than that. It's what can I be as a clinician if I move through these pathways, and what opportunities does it open up for me? And that's really, really important when people are considering their career pathways through study. So student membership is free. In our mind, it's a bit of a no-brainer. I mean, you can be a student member with multiple associations, and in fact, we encourage that. We encourage it because what it does, it gives you a sense of what the associations are doing, what information are they providing, what resources are available, and more importantly, what kind of advocacy activity happens within those associations. We're super proud at MA that we truly believe we were the most vocal voice throughout COVID for the purpose of representing our members and our profession. You can have a look on our website if you're not sure what we did. There's a tab under COVID. Underneath that, COVID advocacy. There's plenty of information that will demonstrate what it is that we did. We don't stop the conversations there, though. Just because restrictions may have eased and people might be able to get back into practice, we're continuing with those conversations. It doesn't stop there. We continue the push for equity across healthcare and access to healthcare. So I encourage you guys to have a bit of a look at that as well. But I'm conscious of time, and I do want to give people an opportunity with the questions. So there is a question on here about members from other associations who want to move over to MA, but there's a fear of causing disruption to their clients in terms of claiming. So going through the process. Did you want me to run through that, Madeline, or do you want to talk?
If you can do that, and I'm going to, if there's time, I'm just going to quickly go through our Facebook page and just the payment portals that we have available.
Perfect. Okay, so for the purpose of that, absolutely, we understand people's greatest concern is disruption to your provider numbers. So we are trying to make that as seamless as possible. Essentially what we encourage you to do, so when you join MA, we ask that you provide us some documentation around your qualification, first aid, working with children. Once we approve your membership, you receive your membership number. You then are required to provide us with your practice details. We then add that to your dashboard and all the health funds, and Madeline shared with you a tab in the members only area that is that great little document that tells you when we send reports to health funds. Now, the dates that we send those reports are not selected by us. They're dates given to us by the health funds. They're very specific with regards to when they want us to report to them. So once we receive your practice details, we add them to the system for the purpose of loading them to the health fund reports so that we can get the provider numbers. Now, quite often, health funds have what's called indicators. So we select an indicator to inform them that you're a new member with an existing provider number. Health funds can sometimes take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks. Unfortunately, there's some funds that have been taking a little bit longer, and we understand the frustration for members with that. Once we receive those provider numbers, we obviously give them to you. We also ask that you please inform us when you've informed your current association, so the one you're moving from, that you're ceasing your membership with them. Unfortunately, what happens is once you've done that with them, they select an indicator on their end for health funds that says close practice. What happens is the health funds receive that and they drop the provider number off. If you're able to inform us when you've done that, though, when you've said, yes, I've ceased that, we can hopefully get a sense of when the reports are going to go off, because they're very similar dates to ours. And we can give the health funds a heads up to say, this member was with another association, they'll be informing you to close the practice. Please note they are an active member with us so that there's no disruption. What I will say is we can't guarantee that the health funds always take note of that. Sometimes what happens is you'll ring us and say, I've just had a member who's tried to claim through XYZ. It says I'm not a recognised provider. We very quickly get onto that fund to let them know. They backdate it if, for example, there's been a couple of days between, your patient not being able to claim. They'll backdate it and your patient can make that claim quite quickly. But that is what we do to try and mitigate the disruption to your provider numbers. We do our very best. We are at the mercy of the health funds, I will say that, but we certainly let them know if you're moving from associations that you're an active member with us. Whilst they'll get that indicator to say close practice from the other association, we're informing them that you're in fact active with us and we've had those numbers reinstated with MA. So that's sort of what happens there. Another quick question, would it be more wise to get the provider numbers from MA first and then terminate with the current association? So essentially that's what we're saying, that's what we encourage you to do. Once we get the provider numbers from you, we still run into that problem very occasionally, but as I said, things have become much better. We do encourage you to please let us know when you've terminated with the other association so that we can ensure with those health funds that they're not going to impact your provider numbers when they receive a health fund report from them saying, please close this person's practice. So that's the best that we can do to support you to avoid that disruption with your provider numbers. Very quickly, I know you want to show the Facebook page. For the purpose of health funds and provider numbers, as I said, it can take 2 to 4 weeks. Generally, the process is you provide us with your practice details, name, full address, and there must be a contact number. Otherwise, we can't add it. We add that to your dashboard. We select the indicators for the purpose of the health funds, whether it's a new practice or whether it's a new provider number or a new member, and they go on the reports based on when you'll see we're reporting to funds. Some funds are weekly, some funds are monthly, and other funds are fortnightly. So there's a lot of health fund reporting that goes on. We are back and forth with health funds often because they will flag with us what's called an error. That error might be, for example, that the street numbers not showing up on their system. So we have to go back and confirm with them that they've got the right details. So that's one of the things. The other thing, health funds do not like people having, particularly remedial members, do not like you having more than 3 practices. My therapist, I believe, if you want to be with more than 4 practices, the health funds request a statement from you that indicates why you want to be with more than 4 practices. So often if you've got multiple practices and there's a delay in receiving health funds for the 4th or 5th practice, that's the reason why, but we will go back and communicate that with you. So we are back and forth all the time with health funds. It can be quite taxing with the funds because they're not always very quick to respond. Some of them are better than others, but please note we're always doing the very best we can to ensure that there's little disruption to your health funds. So I hope that they answered those questions. And I don't see any hands up or other questions. So Madeline, I'll let you go to the Facebook page and we're going to wind this up in a couple of minutes.
Yeah. Okay. So now is my page sharing there?
Yep, that's sharing.
Yeah. So this is the Myotherapy Association Australia. This is our members only page. It is a private group. So if you find that group, you can request access to that group and obviously be a member to do that. But this is another great place. Again, we touched on earlier this idea that, you know, that this is also a community, and that in order to grow yourself professionally as a clinician and as a business owner, you know, this is a great place to join in conversations, to ask questions, or, you know, to find other myotherapists that you want to engage with. And this is a great point for students as well. You know, this is a really good sort of grassroots area to see what's going on in practices. So I just wanted to quickly touch on that and encourage members to join this group and join in the conversations. We post all of the events on here as well as the myotherapy page, but this members only group is where a lot of the conversation happens. So I just wanted to touch on that. And last but not least, I just want to quickly jump back onto a member dashboard just to quickly show members how they can make a payment. If we go back down to your account, if we go to make payment here, you can see that there's an outstanding invoice here on Anna's account. Oh, I don't have permission for that. Okay. So we can put in the amount that's owing, and that might be for an event or for membership. We can apply that, make a payment, and that will take you through to our payment portal where you can pay via credit card, and you'll have that paper trail of any accounts. Furthermore, once you have made those payments, you can access them through your portal as well, through your dashboard, sorry. Sorry, Anna, I've just lost the...
For the purpose of
payments that have been previously been made.
Yeah, so normally what will happen is once you've made the payment, you can print the statements. So it'll say, yep, so you can have a look at that. That'll show you what's on there as well. So, okay. Yep. That's not good. We'll have to follow that one up. But what happens is you immediately get emailed a receipt of that also. So keeping in mind with this dashboard as well, as we work through these things, if we hear from members that I've tried to do this but it hasn't worked, these are things that we can certainly go back to the developers with as well. So for the purpose of this, we know there's areas within the make payment that we want to improve upon, such as ensuring that there's a button for you to download those receipts as well. So they're all things that we continue to work on with our developers. You know, this dashboard came into place, or this CRM came into place with us just at the start of the pandemic. So everything felt like a bit of a mad rush, and what we're doing now is really working with our developers to finesse this so it's as user-friendly for you as it is for us in the back end. Everything about your membership happens for us on this dashboard, so we want to ensure that you utilize this at the best that you can, and that we are able to have access to continue to add things that you require as well. So it's just a part of that communication piece. Let us know, what's not on there, what works well, what you would like to see on there as well. We're going to add more groups. If you scroll down for me there, Madeline, you'll see down the bottom on the right-hand side column in My News. So you can select to be added to specific, states or territories. For, we might email specifically to Queenslanders for the purpose of CPD that's happening there. You can make a selection so that you get picked up in that group anytime that we're sending something out to those particular people. And we're going to start working more with interest groups for our members as well. So we, as Madeline said, it's about being a community. It's about ensuring that you're able to engage with one another, but you're getting the most out of this. So I think we're running a little over time here, Madeline. So
slightly, yeah.
I don't
There's so much to cover.
There's so much to cover. And, I hope that it impresses upon people that there is a lot to your membership. It's not just about paying a fee. We don't want you to hear from us only at the time of renewals or the time of CPD. As Madeline said, you'll be hearing more from Madeline. You'll be hearing quite often from Madeline as well. So please ensure that you are reaching out to us, having those conversations, email, phone call, Facebook, Messenger, whatever that piece looks like. But we'll have this recording available for people to look back on as well. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Madeline. Welcome.
Thank you.
And certainly we'll be running more of these. We've got another Myotherapy ConneX coming up in August, where we'll be speaking with Joe Palmer about how do I engage staff remotely for the purpose of supporting me, whether it's my administration, my bookkeeping. So have a bit of a look at that, but we'll send that information out to you.
Wonderful.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for joining.